Good evening.
Everywhere I go on this island, it seems to me I find degeneracy.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes. See, it's a lot scarier when there's no motive, Sid.
We have a bargain.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
Do you feel the pain? Oh, it's the pain I can assure you will be exquisite.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
His entire work consists of violence, all the time, obsessed with the issue of violence, mayhem, gouging out of eyes, autopsies on the stage.
Come. It is time to keep your appointment.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Gigasummer coverage of Midsommar for episode 184 of Double Feature Horror Show. I hope you are well. Weirdly enough, we've already had the super chats tested and they are working. Thank you very much, John Goris. I will look at that in just a second. But yes, tonight we are covering Midsommar. It is going to be a controversial one. It's a film you've asked me to cover a fair amount, and I've got a take on it, but we are going to have to ration this because there is one thing I've got from looking at this film is that it is like The Shining. We could fill 5 or 6 hours of analysis here. So we're going to have to ration. If there's something you want a particular take on, do ask us and we'll try and get to it. But with that said, I'm covering it this week with fabulous co-host Murgoot. Hello, Murgoot.
Hello. Greetings, everybody. Just to shill, my X account is at Murgoot. And I'm even more shadow banned than I was before.
You've been naughty on there. You've been doing the no words.
No, not at all. I'm just irrelevant.
Just gotta, I don't know, have you considered moving to India and then pretending you're in England? Huh? I hear that works very well. Give it a go. Inevitable Goot. Honestly, it could catch on. Well, hello, chat. Yes, we were a tiny bit late. We were discussing Dune, David Lynch's Dune. I'm sorry to say, Mr. GB. Can't talk about that briefly. And thank you very much, John Goris, demonstrating that the super chats work fantastically, sending $10 and saying, I'm the last one on earth who hasn't seen Midsommar. You'll have to tell me all about it. Don't worry, this will be a full spoiler stream as always. Oh man, I hope I don't ruin it for you. I hope we incline you to watch the whole thing, the whole director's cut, actually. We haven't seen that. We've only watched the regular cut. So maybe we'll get you curious enough to see the full 171-minute director's version. In the meantime, John has been rewatching the fantastic Psychomania from 1973 with George Sanders. Well, that is a familiar face to this channel. Unfamiliar voice, though. We could do a whole biker horror cycle. Now, that is an interesting pitch. It's weird, isn't it, Murgoot? There's a heck of a lot of biker horror movies.
Oh, yeah. A lot of... There's some interesting ones. There's also some really, truly horrible ones.
This struck me a bit as a very classic case of horror looking at what's contemporary and being like, right, that, give it fangs, stick it on. It's also got the whiff of like Roger Corman to it.
Roger Corman or, oh God, I'm brain farting. Did Faster Pussycat Kill?
Russ Myers. I watched it for the article. The articles, don't worry. Yeah, there'll be a load of them. Also, of course, Buffy season 6, episode 1 and 2. Bargaining, I believe it was called. which has the demons on motorcycles. So we've got a rich history. You may have tempted us into that. I mean, heck, we did wrestlers in horror movies. Why not? Why not? Thank you again, John Garth. Much appreciated. And Mr. Gently Benevolent, one of the most loyal members of this channel, asking why no Spice Carl this week, PH? Well, because we're bringing on our favourite 99% Anglo-Saxon Spice Carl, Harry, next week. Next week's going to be a bit of a beauty when we're covering A Field in England. We are going to have both Harry and Simon Roberts on, who are really keen on that specific movie. I've not seen it, but it's Ben Wheatley, so we're interested, you know? I mean, Kill List is an absolute stone cold classic. So A Field in England, I've got high hopes. So that is why we haven't seen it. Werewolves on Wheels. You seen that one, Murgoot?
No, I know about it, but I have never seen it myself.
I haven't heard of it myself, but I'm intrigued. I wonder if Hammer ever went there.
I don't know if Hammer did. It's more of a Corman thing. It's more...
I could see it being Corman.
Yeah, Corman, Russ Meyer. I don't know. Has Trauma done one? I haven't looked at their catalog for a while, but...
Fair enough. Well, folks, we should probably move on to it. I'll just say very quickly, if you want to follow us, we've got links in the description to our channels, and I will put in an additional plug here. As well as Super Chats, you can support the channel by joining as a member, either here or on Subscribestar. Why would you do that? Well, I really want you to do that because then I can reward you with exclusive content. And I'll also say that I've had quite a few requests to cover specific movies. Was a recent one, Jennifer's Body, I was asked about. I would love to cover this stuff, but I have to prioritize. And one way I can prioritize is with member requests. So if you join as a member, I will I will do a movie of your choice, even if that movie is Plan 9 from Outer Space, as Mr. Gently Benevolent can tell you. We did watch it. We did cover it. Oh, my. Yes. So, yes, if you want your movie covered, that is the best way to do it. In fact, I believe one thing that we may do, which members will vote on, is a possible theme of a Members' Choice Month, which would be a good way to get your request in. So that could be a member request May. Anyway, I will move us on because there is so much to say about Midsommar. It is a divisive film, a rewarding film. I'm going to be pitching strongly in favor of it, but is also my interpretation of it is going to be quite heavy on it being the Starship Troopers of horror. I'm gonna pitch that you've got to get your media literacy awards out. Where have I got it? You got my media literacy thing. Where is it? Darn it, I can't see it. Anyway, I'll try and get it up on screen. There we go. Sorry, guys, I'm boomering already. What would we do if I didn't boomer it? There you go. There you go. This is so get your media literacy awards. This is a film really trying to gaslight you about gaslighting. It's telling you, oh, what a horrible thing. Anyway, it's very Starship Troopers. We will get into it. But Murgoot, you've passed me the great honor of. I'll tell you one other thing we're going to do is we are going to. Murgoot is indulging me. We're going to look at one particularly bad review. Murgoot's going to rein me in, but we're gonna watch one particularly bad review of this movie in its entirety and comment on it, and try and develop on. You will remember, as Modding Forever remembers, I actually have an old video on Midsommar And revisiting it, my goodness, I like the film even more. But going forward, quick bit of scene sitting. This is an A24 movie, who are a production company that went independent, and they initially pitched all sorts of unusual, more artistic films, and then got a reputation for being very successful in horror, and leaned into that heavily for several years. And they've since broadened out. But because this is an A24 movie, there are naked old people in abundance. It's contractual, you know.
The A24 meme.
Gotta do it. Gotta be done. Yeah. So, and it is coming from Ari Aster. I'm sure you know this already, but this is Ari Aster following the extremely successful Hereditary from, I want to say, 2018. Now, an interesting thing about this is Aster did not particularly want to do Midsommar, but he was contracted. He signed on as basically junior director when Hereditary was just an accepted script. So this should be looked at as kind of a young director taking the work that he can get, you know. Oh, excuse me. Actually, sorry, I've missed something. Adam Loves Horror. Thank you so much for sending $2. I'm sorry, I missed that for a second. That was mentally tagged as "don't forget," and I did for a few minutes. Apologies. So Adam Loves Horror confirming he's a subscriber star member, and it's the coolest. It is indeed the coolest. You can vote. You have exclusive stuff. It's all good. And since you prompted me, I am going to make darn sure that I get out that extra video on Speak No Evil, which got stuck in copyright hell. I'm going to get that out this weekend. There's a promise to you guys. All right. Thank you, Adam Loves Horror, for your support. It's very much appreciated. So, yes, this was not Aster's first choice. He was contracted into it, but he was contracted in when Midsommar was not very well formed, right? He just had the outline that you had to do basically a folk horror in Sweden. The original proposers and producers were Swedish, so they brought that to it, and they definitely had their own thoughts on things. Swedish producers put in a lot of their own personal politics, and as we'll get into, Ari Aster most definitely put his own personal politics into this movie. I do not agree with these politics. It does not ruin the movie for me. I can see what they're doing. I disagree with it, but we'll get into that. So basically, Aster takes this basic framework and he really gets to go wild with it. I think being with A24, he was able to not do a very typical horror movie. And something else that he also wanted to do was basically focus around his own life. He'd had a big breakup when he was writing this movie. You may have seen that had a little bit of an influence on it, Murgoot. Just may have picked up on that. Yeah. I am sort of picturing him in his, like, sitting on his sofa in his pajama with like a big rosé, like crying and typing at the same time. Be like, I'll show up. I don't know he's straight, actually. That's a terrible assumption of me. Yeah, so interesting. You see that he takes a radical departure from this with his next movie, Beau is Afraid. I think it's also very telling that there's such a big gap between Midsommar and Beau is Afraid. I think because that was him really wanting to focus on what he was really interested in. So it's quite lucky, I think, that we got something that isn't just a rote picture. We've got something that is very personal, that is very thought out, that is not rushed out at all, and is very deep in effort, even though it's his second movie. He had to get it done quickly, and it wasn't his first choice by a long way. But with all of that setup said, we should do a quick Guinness pour of this. Quick summary for, I know a few of you have not seen this movie, but we'll set this out for you. It's a folk horror movie, and you know we're covering this for our modern folk horror season, where we're going to be comparing and contrasting to the classic folk horror of the 1970s, which were explicitly English and rooted in English contemporary worries and culture at the time. And we've got our little graphic, which I'll bring out later. So I've remembered it this week. If you remember it, this little lad, this is going to help us tell if we've actually got it or not. But we'll move into it as an analysis, right? So a lot of this will not be a surprise for you. Midsommar, being a folk horror, involves sacrifice. It involves a rural, separate society. This time it's once again visited by outsiders from modernity. You know, we're ticking off all the points here, all your classic tropes. In this case, it's a bunch of American students invited over by their friend Pelle. They are not the happiest bunch, basically because the lads want to have fun. Well, they're on a bit of a spectrum. Josh, actually, shall we get them up? That'll be a bit easier so you know who we're talking about. Where are my guys? Here we go. Josh, on the left here, is the most scholarly. He genuinely is, folks. I'm not making a joke there. Then he wants to go to study Midsommar rituals in Europe. Pelle here is the one inviting them. Mark here is, how would you describe him, Murgoot?
A bro. In all the worst.
Yeah. Very horny bro, basically. He's a very mobile id. And in the back, obscured in the mirror, is our boy Christian. And Christian's a bit obscured here because he doesn't really know what he wants in the movie. Christian's going to be vilified quite a lot in any review you read, possibly in this stream. I've got a bit of a soft spot for him. I'm going to read to you later from an academic book called Post Horror, which makes it just makes its whole thing hating on Christian with very little justification. You may detect a certain author bias when we get to that. Christian is kind of torn. He's got a little bit of the horny id of Mark. He's got a little bit of that. He knows he should be doing his academic studies, but he's not sure on that either. And he's really muddled over Danny. Danny, played by Florence Pugh, played wonderfully by Florence Pugh, who I'm really struggling to get a photo of in my collection. Let's get her. This is a wonderful one of her. Danny is, how can I say? Danny's coming from a place of deep trauma. We are grounded early on in very dark scenes as we see her entire family destroyed by her sister Terry's act of a thing I'm going to have to use euphemistically, taking out both herself and her parents, their parents, I should say. It's grim. It's the most traditional horror part of the movie, even for A24. Mm-hmm. Danny is in a state of high anxiety. You know, she's already taking anxiety meds before that, and she doesn't know really how to deal. She's very clingy on Christian, demands a lot of him, and is kind of desperate to be with him. She will contort herself to be with him. A lot of the review
worried about losing him because she is so needy.
Oh, totally. So yeah, she's absolutely dependent on him, and he is basically unsure how to handle that. He doesn't want to be with her, but also he doesn't want to ditch her in a horrible time, and he's just awkward about the whole thing. People will hate on Christine and portray Danny as absolutely, the victim of endless gaslighting. And there is a fair amount in the film to support that, but I also think the film is quite nice in showing that actually, yeah, she wouldn't be much fun to deal with. Even before everything goes wrong, she's very clearly very dependent on him, which is not an attack on her. It's praise for a complex bit of characterization. Anyway, they get to the Hargor community somewhere in Hälsingland, Finland, Sweden. Sorry. In Hälsingland.
By rural Hungary.
Yes, good point. Very good point. Also, no Americans in the film. Or is there only one? I think pretty much everyone else is pretending to be American. Yes, when they go there, everyone speaks in Swedish. It is almost universally untranslated, which is delightful, infuriating to some people. And they're building up to a festival that happens every 90 years. Their community works in cycles of 9. Every 10 years there's a mega fest with big rituals. And as people
90 years.
Oh, sorry, 90 years. Thank you. And every 90 years have this big thing, all these big rituals, and our group immediately starts to see a kind of sinister undertone to them. But everything is played atypically. It is not played like a straight-up horror movie, and that's because it's not a straight-up horror movie. As we move towards the conclusion, we see that a lot of ideas are going to be challenged, and in the classic folk horror fashion, a lot of modern assumptions are going to be tested or broken, challenged, certainly. And that's going to be where we get into very individualistic interpretation of this movie, because how you respond to it, I think, depends greatly on your values. But that is me rabbiting on for a long period. Murgoot, you had seen bits of this before, I believe.
Yes. I'd seen about half of it in like 20-minute chunks in various scenes. Every time I sat down to watch it, I got interrupted, basically.
Oh, I'm glad it wasn't just like turning it off in disgust.
No. It's real life would intrude and have to turn off the TV.
Yeah. So coming back to it, were you what stood out for you from watching this? Is there anything that you'd really like to lead us off on?
Just some of the symbology when they land in Sweden and they're driving down the road and the camera flips upside down, like their world is being flipped over. And it's pretty blatant what he's trying to say, what the director's trying to say.
Yeah, he used a similar shot in Hereditary, and he's just as you say, it's a nice, slow, disorientating. Gets you have a sort of, I don't know about if you had this feeling, but it was like, ooh, can a camera do that? Like the way it was filmed continuously just made me feel quite dizzy.
That was the point, and yeah, it's fairly easy to do if the camera on the car is on a universal gimbal. They just control it and turn the camera upside down and do it that way.
So you reckon they did that and like then just edited out the gimbal, or am I being?
Well, the gimbal is attached to the camera with the lens pointing forward. It's no real big deal. But the symbology of it, just realizing that it's already coming from a harsh place from Danny's point of view. I mean, beyond brutally harsh from Danny's point of view. And Christian's friends, Pele's the only one who seems to sympathize with her. Mark is like Ditcher, and Josh is make up your mind, man. Here's the bad points. He was academic about it.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy because Josh is basically saying, like, are you kind of throwing yourself? He pinpoints Christine's just like lack of certainty, lack of identity, lack of direction. It's like, are you letting this just distract you from your academics? Possibly, but I think he's also torn because he says people portray Christian as just awful, but he says very clearly that he doesn't know what if he regrets breaking up with her. Like he cares about her on some level. Like he's portrayed as this absolute monster, but
no,
like,
he cares, but he also wants to distance himself from her. It's not working, but he also doesn't want to destroy her further, and he does care about her issues.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can say, like, we've been there, right? I mean, I've been there. I've been there at the end of a relationship where I'm like, this ain't good, but I don't know if I want to pull the plug on this one.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. Everyone hates on Christian. We've been there. Like, Mark is the one who's absolutely callous about it, but the film kind of does a bit of a sneaky on us. You know, we've got the dramatic irony that we know something they don't. We know that actually the messages that Danny is calling them about are serious. They are real. It's actually, although many times in the past her sister has just been making very sort of doomer threats and they've not paid off. You know, she's done it. This time it did.
Point of stating that her sister's bipolar.
Yeah.
And you get the feeling that Danny might be bipolar, but she's definitely anxiety-ridden and paranoia-ridden.
Yeah. The film, I think, does a very fair job of saying, actually, yeah, Florence Pugh is a cutie, if you will. But she would be difficult. She would be hard to handle, you know? And anyway, so that's throwing that out there. But I'm really glad you talked about the symbology, because this bit of symbolism of the world being turned upside down lets us into another bit of symbolism. And by the way, guys, if you've read around this, you probably know we're looking at that sign for another reason later. But there's a strong amount of color theory in this film. And that is used, that's very important. You know, I don't know how you feel about Murgoot. I sometimes roll my eyes a bit at color theory. Like, blue is this character's color. I'm like, yeah, I know that because that character's on screen. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. But this is good because it's coding a meaning in something, in a color, that is often contrapuntal to the image you're seeing. So you might be given like a happy effect, and something's treated well, but the color is giving you the actual clue that actually something isn't good. It's not what it seems, and you should be worried. But so the flat image is given extra text by the color theory.
With yellow symbolizing death and moving on, and then the blues symbolizing loyalty and family.
We oh, this is why I don't look at chat. It's my duty to please that beauty. Oh gosh, thank you, Adam. Thank you. And we've got a confirmation that she's a wood. Well, we will see how many woods are posted over the course of this review. So just to recap, because you have a different take on yellow and blue that I do, and we both have a different take on the. I should get the channel name actually, because it was a really good video, and I feel a bit bad not covering it. Novum. So Novum's Midsommar: The Complete Guide has another interpretation of this. So Murgoot, could you just repeat your understanding of yellow and blue?
Yellow is death and the cycle of life and death, and blue is loyalty and family.
Cool. Yes. We are very, very much agreed on yellow. I'll get you a scene early on. This is moderately upsetting. Apologies, guys. I'll give you the less upsetting image first. So this is Danny's family, who have been basically killed
Carbon
by
monoxide.
Yes. Yes, Ari Aster. You can learn a lot more about him on Wikipedia. Has them die by being gassed. This may be relevant to hidden meanings in the film. What did he mean by this? Here you see them surrounded by yellow and blue, and you've got also a Florence Pugh there with a little crown of flowers there. We love a bit of foreshadowing here. Okay, so Novum's video says that because of the understanding of the Horga, the commune cult that they're going to visit, that life and death are intertwined because they're very built on, the seasons. The film basically opens with this tableau showing us you go through the seasons. So yes, you got the sun here, but you will go back into death. So the yellow and blue lead into each other. So he says both yellow and blue indicate death, but it's always one becomes the other. So I quite like that, but I do have to disagree. Basically because I think I more consistently see yellow used for death and danger. So the sort of, but more like the death of a certain phase. Blue, I think, tends to be coded a bit more to things that are ending and are probably ending forever. But again, like, this is the three of us all having very different interpretations. And with something like color in a movie, you're going to have counterexamples. But I go for yellow being danger a bit more because of the way it's linked to some of the political themes. So, for instance, on that book there, that's a yellow book, you can see, right? Now, there's no dying there. No one dies in this room. Sorry, well, I should say in this scene. But this book is yellow. What is that book? If you zoom in, you can see it clearly later. It's a book saying the secret mid-century German language of the Utark. So that there's no imminent death here, but there is danger. Like, this is indicating a sinister aspect to the area they're going to. And likewise, the sign, no one dies here, but they are heading towards danger. As they're entering Helsingland, it's a sort of end of one phase and a threat to many of them.
It's also kind of ironic because the Swedish flag is a yellow cross on a blue field.
Oh, Murgoot, you're 100% right. I mean, but it's very deliberate. It's ironic and deliberate. I mean, to kind of cut to the chase here, a lot of the coding is basically a warning about nationalism. And that's not me popping on the old tinfoil. I'm not doing the old Devon Stack impression here. This is like direct quotations from the Swedish producers, who are like they're like our version of Islington residents, well, Seattle residents for you, I suppose, Murgoot. You know, and I might just. It's a bit early in the review to do it. I'm not going to go into big detail on this because I think that takes us a bit away. But, yeah, you're absolutely right. They code blue and yellow as dangerous, and also representing the flag. And this sign that they show us, okay, yeah, it's a world turned upside down, showing they're entering Helsingland. But what it actually says on there is basically stop mass immigration into Helsingland. That's what it says on the sign upside down. Now, you're not really meant to be able to see that. You'd have to look that up on a closer view. Just like on the book, you'd probably not catch that it was talking about the mid-century Germans, but those are very deliberately put in there. And I just want to say, like, this isn't the focus of this stream, but I think if you look even cursorily at what mass immigration has done to Sweden, turning it from one of the lowest crime rates in Europe into one of the highest, where they literally just stopped publishing statistics about crime, or certain statistics about crime in 2014 because it wasn't looking good for them. The fact they're having grenade attacks. Basically, guys, if you're on this channel, you're probably not scared about that stuff. You probably know about it already, but mass immigration has not worked out well for Sweden. And a lot of the literature on this is very frustrated about this, or just doesn't address it, doesn't at all attempt to inquire why they would be concerned about it. But Sweden was a very early casualty of opening its arms in good faith. So,
after the Swedes are an interesting people, they keep to themselves, and those that complain are seen as troublemakers. And those people who complain about it, certain political parties that the Swedish communalists don't like, and then people who have come to Sweden earlier in their lives and become part of it. Angry Foreigner, for instance.
Oh, I remember that guy. Yeah.
He's still around. He's doing most of his stuff still in Swedish. He doesn't do it as often, but he's a major political commentator now. And he's not associated with the SD, but he was one of the first to really bring up the talking points.
Yeah. I recall I think Sweden is one of the ones that we probably know about best, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't as censored a topic as our equivalent is in the UK. I believe Douglas Murray even wrote about it extensively.
He was one of the first to expose the Malmo grenade bombings and the no-go zones. And then, excuse me for mentioning him, Tim Pool made his fateful trip to Malmo and got escorted out by the police from the no-go zone. Oh, no, it's not a no-go zone, but you don't need to be here. Yeah. Okay.
Fun fact, I've actually been to Malmo, and scary places. Not universally, and they have some lovely parks, but blooming heck, I was nervous there.
Yeah.
So basically, a lot of this film is coded into fears of people being converted into nationalism, far right, especially the fear that the big festival every 90 years is some have interpreted as Ari Aster's ideas, that this comes in a cycle, and that there's going to be yet another big explosion of far right scary stuff. And this is why I say I don't think it's accidental at all, and I apologize for a slightly disturbing image here. This is why I believe it is not accidental that he has early on the sister do kill them with gas. If this is his fear, like his fear, Ari Aster coming from a particular background, that is that fear with reference to events of 80 years ago is why he chose this method, adding it to what the Swedish producers were already willing to put in. So there's also something else we can get from this. If we're just sticking on the symbolism here, if you were to zoom very close in, you would see that the eye there is very cloudy. I'm just commenting on this because I think the color theory people catch. I just thought this was one of the more interesting ones. This color theory that she has a clouded vision, right? Cloudy eye, cloudy vision. We're going to sort of we're going into David Lynch mode here. Now, we find out one of the interesting things about the Horga is that they have an oracle who adds to their holy book. But their oracle, if I can find the guy, where is he? Sorry, I've taken a lot of
Josh asks, as a setup to it, Josh asks, well, how do you control incest? They're like, well, we make sure the mating matches. Cousin marriage is okay as long as the family lines are traced properly. And then you come to find out that their oracle is specifically inbred to give them to leave them open and give them proper visions.
Yeah, and they specifically say they want him like that because his brain is unclouded by basically modernity and other things. Now they use that word unclouded, right? They also use it again in reference to Christian later, but then having reference to unclouded and clouded thought. Very interestingly, at a feast, where's my lad? There we go. When Danny has to choose at the end who is the final sacrifice in the ritual, I don't know if this is going to be a very confusing stream if you haven't seen the movie, guys. Bear with me. We see our oracle again. And I thought, what the heck is he on the first time? And I was like, oh, he's on a cloud. He's got the unclouded vision, but they popped him on a cloud. What did they mean by this? Yeah, I think it complicates the picture a lot about how honest they are. But yeah, I thought that was a very neat touch. Maybe I was wondering if it's almost like a symbolic thing of, okay, well, he's part of our community and we bring it all together, so he's going to be like us. We're all clouded, so is he now in this final ceremony.
Yeah. Well, to go through the timeline, just so people
please, yes.
understand, they show up and Pele has brought them, and you come to find out that Ingrid has brought 2 British students, a young couple, with him too.
I've got them here. These are our British students. What are you going to do us like this, Harry?
and they settle in, and they're taken to the dormitory built into a barn and told to settle down. And it's, well, Mark, as bluntly as he can, says, well, how do you jerk off in peace? And they just look at him like everything is to be seen. And if you look at the pictures around the room, it's life, death, and everything is lived communally.
It's very sort of unashamed of those natural functions, which I'm torn on how representative that is of Sweden. I know that sort of oddly nudity is not a big worry there. I mean, just from my experience going there, but otherwise there's so much reserve generally. So it's an odd one. Sorry, Murgoot, I realised I missed a super chat from Adam Loves Horror. So ages ago when we were discussing Symbolism. I'm very sorry about this. I'm shoddy tonight. Thank you for sending in the $2. And this was a good joke. This deserved attention. Coldplay told me it was all yellow. Shouldn't listen to Chris Martin. You need to listen to us. Thank you, Adam. Sorry I missed that. That was well timed.
Yeah, that's one that went over my head because the one song from Coldplay turned me off of.
Many such cases. Yeah, tricky mental. Were they sort of prepping us for Rishi Sunak? I don't know. Oh dear. I mean, we're talking about some of the frankness. I don't have any footage of the barn, but I do have some of the drawings or the artwork that's about, which does have runes. And I think one of the things one of the kind of walls we'll hit in this analysis is you can go a heck of a lot deeper. Like the use of runes throughout the film could be studied. For me, like I decided not to go that far in, but I know you could do a lot by interpreting the runes, which they make sure you can see. So you probably get a lot more if you looked that up. But I'm going to show you one example of how their the Horga artwork is used that's kind of communicates their very unabashed attitude towards sex and sexuality. Don't spit your coffee out, guys. So, Murgoot, could you set the scene here for people? And people maybe not... if people are only listening, what's going on here, big guy?
Well, for one, they're taken to the communal feast to open the festival. And everybody's set down at the long table shaped into a rune, which is the Othala rune, meaning home. And then...
which is seen in the second... Oh, sorry, the first and second from the right, I believe.
And then they're wandering by and noticing the artwork, and it's the expressing how their fertility ritual is to be carried out. And it's very, very blatant foreshadowing.
Oh, yes.
It's, God, what's her name? The redhead.
Maya.
Lacing Christian's food with her pubic hairs. Yuck.
You really liked the dialogue over that, I remember. I thought that was funny.
But yeah, they have the feast, and they're told the main festival starts in the morning, but then when it kicks off, they have the two, well, that afternoon they're given the rules that through the age of 18, it's childhood, and then it's 19 through 36, it's wandering, and then it's 36 through 54, I believe, is work, and then until 72, it's mentoring.
Yeah, it's multiples of 2 multiples of 9 each time, because everything in their society is done in cycles of 9.
9, yeah. And one of the things I thought was interesting was what happens somebody asks, what happens after 72? And Pele just runs his fingers across his throat, and nobody really notices except Josh, who's like, seriously? And Pele just walks off.
Yeah, I mean, hey, come on, Logan's Run, you only got 30. This is generous.
So the next day, the daily feast and 2 elders are set at the point at the head of the large banquet table, and they're given that, and then they're put into sedan chairs and taken to the top of a cliff. They perform a ritual there, and then the woman proceeds to jump off the cliff and dash her head against the major altar stone at the bottom.
Can I pause you there, Murgoot? I definitely want to talk about that bit. But just to spell it out for people who are only listening, what we're just seeing just on screen was we've got the fertility ritual here, and then later in a banquet, you've got demonstration of it in practice. So the final step of some menstrual blood going in a drink for the intended seducee. Later, you see Christian has got a drink like everyone else, but his is notably slightly redder.
Yeah.
So it's like nice foreshadowing. Sorry. We now return to discussion of the Atas Duper ritual, which you are going to absolutely hate my take on.
The elderly man jumps off and misses the altar stone and basically severs his leg. And then the chosen ceremonial group walks up with Matic and crushes his head. Each one takes a swing until the head is completely crushed. And everybody's ritually crying out about the deaths, ritually mourning, but nobody seems too affected by it.
Well, they I think that they're communally they try and empathize. They broadcast loudly the intense emotion. So we're like, when they don't do it for the woman because she's just instantly killed, but for the guy in pain, they instantly echo it back, which I think is their way of showing like they're with you in suffering. And I think that is absolutely key. You might hate my takes on this, but very early on, when Danny has got the news that her whole family has been wiped out, we see her in Christine's apartment just sort of wailing, and he's very passively holding her, but he is really not sort of feeling on the same level. He's got this kind of awkward like, I don't know what to do. But she is absolutely feeling it. She is feeling it alone. She's feeling it totally alone. But later, as Adam's Horror has pointed out, they show very clearly in the Horga, they're with her. In fact, whenever anyone is struggling in the Horga, they are all there showing like you are not alone. Like they feel it together. It's this intense sort of show of empathy.
Yeah.
But and we get the sort of first signs of that at the Athos Stupa ritual.
Yeah.
I've got a little. There's something I do need to get in here early, Murgoot.
Okay.
Now, I don't say this frivolously, but it needs to be noted that at the stupa, this ritual sacrifice of the old, it's not a thing. It's not a thing that actually happened. It was a rumor about the Swedes because they were very late to convert to Christianity. So they were portrayed as doing this sort of barbaric ritual. But it's not really real. However, it's sort of interesting that Ari Aster, given his background, is very keen to talk about a sort of horrific, bloody religious practice. You might call it a blood libel. You might say it's a little weird for him to be promoting a blood libel about the Horga. But,
well, it's not so much a blood libel as it is recounting. Well, maybe it is a blood libel, recounting the old exaggerated folk tales, folk ways of sacrifice and renewal, fertility rituals, and taking it to the worst point.
Yeah. And similar with the blood eagle, rumored, probably not that well practiced, but it's just an interesting thing, given that I will be arguing this film tries to make the Horga look bad, and I'm mostly there being like, nice. Y'all recruiting? Anyway, there's also I like that this guy also looks directly in the camera, as if to say like, "Hey, horror fans, I know what you want. Here we go. I know you're looking forward to this bit." So we get a really. This is probably where we start to get the values clash. In the film and outside of it, because even though they're there to study this very foreign culture, Christine gets treated with absolute horror when he's like, well, they do things a bit differently. Josh is actually, he knows what Atastupa is. And I think he's able to treat it with a kind of detachment that, say, I don't know, we saw in his house, where members of were they South Sudanese? Where were they from? I can't remember. We could work it out from the subtitles. I don't think they ever said it in the film, but I think we managed to work it out. Anyway, when they detailed that practice of scarification.
Yes.
And they weren't condemned for that. Basically, he takes a consistent anthropological position of, I would not do it myself, but this is how you do it. I want to actually observe your society.
Clinical detachment.
Sort of what you have to do. I mean,
yeah,
they're really down on the fact that the two of the elderly sacrifice themselves at the age of 72, to basically, kind of to not be a drain. And I'm just like, this gets absolutely wailed on, but I'm kind of like, well, one, if we're just talking on the ritual side, I don't know, man. I'm thinking kosher. I'm thinking halal.
Yeah.
And
well, at the end of the ritual, they take the bodies and bury them under the old fallen tree, which Mark the next day proceeds to defile by pissing on it and upsetting everybody. Mark, being the bro that he is, it's just a dead tree, after seeing them doing a burial ritual.
Mark really should know. I mean, I don't know if he would, but I mean, like, can I ask you on that? Like, there's a discussion where Danny, our two British ones they go immediately.
Connie and Simon.
Yeah, Connie and Simon.
We only have 2 seats and we don't break the law, so we took Simon first, and then they take Connie, and something's not quite right.
No, but like they do react to it with absolute horror. Like, we get a range of reactions. I guess what I'm interested in, and I'd like your take on, is Danny is very, very horrified. Obviously, she's particularly sensitive to death. She's anxious anyway. Josh is academically detached. Christian is sort of detached as well. He says he disagrees with it, but he goes for sort of cultural relativism, which we do all over the place, to be fair.
Yeah.
And he does a comparison of, he says something about sticking our old folks in care homes.
Yeah.
And I wondered what you thought of that, because this is, I think, like a really key point of challenging modernity within the film.
That was part of it. Part of it was also, this was the turning point where he realized he wanted to steal Josh's idea and do his thesis on the Horga, because he's very, very, very intrigued by it. At the same time, he's horrified by it. And he wants to learn more, but he ends up doing it in all the wrong ways.
Oh, totally. I mean, I see, yeah, Dr. Prepper is aboard. He actually makes a good point there, yeah. Yeah, I mean, what I would say is, throughout the Horga, there are lots of practices that are, to us, shocking, but what the Horga tend to do is deal with things very directly and personally. And we generally in the West are in the habit of distancing ourselves from it. We hide things we don't want to deal with behind institutions and process and academia, bureaucracy. So, like, we are uncomfortable about, the aging and dying process, and we shunt that aside. Broad points here. Obviously, some people need very constant care. I'm not condemning people who do that. I'm just saying, like, there is a general discomfort and a big change in practice from the Deo. The other thing I'll throw out here would be, factory farming. It's not something we would want to look at, and we kid ourselves with what free range and high welfare means. But when you're dealing on industrial scales, you are not getting the kind of individual attention and gentleness that you would get from small scale farming. The very nature of processing 1,000 chickens, they ain't getting looked after that nice. It's a numbers game, right? This is something we don't want to look at in modern society, and we shut it away. In the Horga, they deal with it head on. We end up being very shocked when we see, say, Islamic communities doing their own goat sacrificing. I'm not a fan of that myself, but it's notable of just how it, like, crosses taboos for us. Even if they were to just actually eat the goat and it's just them wanting to do it themselves, we'd be a bit shocked in a way that I think our grandparents wouldn't.
Well, I grew up in ranch land, so I've seen slaughter, but usually the slaughter, it's not halal slaughter here in the U.S. It's, you take you basically take the slaughter gun and it kills them immediately. They don't bleed out while still alive. It's, you finish it quick, you do it quick, you do it clean. Don't let the animals suffer.
Yeah.
And it's a totally different feeling. I've seen both types of live slaughter, and it's just simpler to just do it quickly, cleanly, and humanely, if
Yeah.
you call it that.
It's like it's not a pleasant, from I have quite a bit of literature on small holding stuff, and like everyone who does this writes that they don't enjoy it, but it's a sort of
It's
has to be done
necessary.
thing.
It's
Yeah, it's
necessary, but nobody enjoys it, and that's why so many ranchers who actually ranch, they don't get attached to the animals aside from caring for them, calling out the vet, that kind of thing. But that's all to keep them healthy when they sell them, either for breeding or for slaughter.
yeah. And
It's
I think being able to do that has like a genuinely transformative effect on your mindset. And it just I think it makes you more independent, more practical, more hands-on. Like, as people who watch the channel know, I keep chickens. I have never been able to dispatch one myself. I can't make myself do it. Years and years in, I am too soft. I can't do it. And I often wish I could. But it is that mindset shift. Adamless Horror has sent in $5. Thank you very much. Saying, in the theatre, the ritual had my friends and I shook. A lady left the theatre. What we consider bad can definitely be justified culturally there to be okay. Well, yeah, on the first point, it is presented in a really interesting way, like absolute graphic violence. But yeah, absolutely graphic violence presented in how would you describe it, Murgoot? Like flat, maybe?
flat, but at the same time reverent. They're Swedish, so it will always come off flat, but they were reverent about the way they did it.
Yeah.
And very off-putting to American or British sensibilities.
Yeah. I mean, if it were shot in an American or a British horror movie, you'd probably have like completely different musical cues. It probably wouldn't be as horrific, but you might have like a sort of snap zoom to it before you cut to someone's horrified reaction. Like, this is just the absolute grisliness is presented. You don't have the horrifying music. You're just left to look at, and you get to sort of feel shocked. So I totally understand that lady's reaction. It is not the kind of fun scare you expect to get. And also, Adam, I am absolutely going to be justifying what they put in there. I mean, just to really shake it up, I'm not going to. My old video on Midsommar, which you can look up, I said there's actually kind of a lot to be said for this. Is it ideal? No, but is it much better than, like, getting into your late 80s and really not enjoying your life, and friends are gone and you're just sort of waiting for it to get worse and worse? It's like, or and how can I say, when you have a sense of commitment to society, and I'm not justifying Canadian healthcare here. I am not doing an advert for the MAID program, trust me. But there is a thing of almost all people's healthcare costs are consumed in the final years, very, very expensive. I'm not saying off people on economic reasons. I'm not saying that. But I'm sort of contrasting the impact on a society if you just try and keep people alive as long as possible. And I wonder what it would do for a society if you literally knew how many days you had. Would you have a bit more direction? Would you feel a bit more prompted to get on with things? I'm not saying in favor of it, but I'm just saying, is is this an absolutely irredeemable process? Well, not really. There's actually quite a few good sides to this.
Yeah. But it all comes down to how it's done. It's clinically and with encouragement, and then the blatant selling of organs like they do in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Or the Netherlands, which really gets to me. That seems even more heartless than the satanic ritual.
And of course, there is another heavily politicized medical procedure where the organic remains are then sold on as well. We don't need to go into that, but a certain amount of, trust me, it's cool, it's progress. I'm like, I don't know, it sounds a bit dodgy, mate. It sounds a bit dodge.
Yeah, my Catholic upbringing is screaming right now.
Yeah. Adam Horror sent in $2. There's something to be said for going on your own terms. Thank you, Adam. Yes. See, I'm convincing more people. I thought people would absolutely hate this. Also, rare Craig David reference from an American. I'm impressed. And you've got Tricky Mentor with it. Years on. We all do it. Yeah, man.
Yes, Adam Loves Horror. Oregon comes to mind, and they're almost as bad as Canada. Almost. But it's not encouraged by the doctors in Oregon. It's an option, not actively encouraged.
Yeah. See, I thought my takes on this on Horgar did absolutely nothing wrong. Would go down pretty badly, but I'm quite impressed here.
I'm not going with cultural relativism, but that's the way they live. I don't like it. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
No, it's fair enough. I mean, Midsommar is very explicitly contrasting a homogenous, traditional, vital, and I would say extremely. I won't say involved society. Because literally everyone does everything. Everyone works with everyone. Everyone emotionally connects, as we see in this scene, and where they share the emotion with Danny. Everyone is hands-on and involved, and that is contrasted with a modern society where everything is very grim and confused. And yes, you've got freedom, absolutely, but people are confused and lost and sad, and it's not a straight up modernity bad. Aster isn't doing that. In fact, he kind of wants us to side with modernity, but I think he impressively does show quite a lot of the bad sides.
Yeah, Aster, his political leanings are far closer. I mean, he's basically of the left, and he's Scandinavian communalism, not communism, but communalism runs deep on the left. And it's an irony that he's saying that it's bad when it's done by somebody else, by a traditional culture. And I find that deeply ironic.
Yes, I think there would be a certain cultural particularism for me, but not for thee, if you can imagine such a thing. To take a slightly different direction, Murgoot, as we've gone into quite a bit now, I wondered if we could we just dug into the film a little bit for just over an hour. I wondered if maybe we would like to look at someone else's take on this film.
Oh boy, let's go.
Thank you for indulging me in this. And by the way, this is not done with malice. I will say we're going to look at a video from the Critical Drinker. Now, I just want to say this is 5 years ago, and I posted some absolute cancer myself 5 years ago. I posted lots of reviews that I think don't stand by anymore, that were very amateurish, that I hadn't fully thought through. So, you know, it happens. But the question is, would he stand by it? And if he takes this back, then you know, fair play to him. But if he stands by it, maybe this was a bit of a worrying trend, and I'll try not to hate on the guy again next week. I'm trying not to, but this will be interesting, right? Hopefully we can hear it. Let me know if you can hear this. I'm going to play it at, what am I going to do? 1.25 speed is 8 minutes, okay?
Holy shit, man. This movie sounds amazing. I love a good horror flick, and everyone seems to think it's the best one this year. I better go and see this right now.
In fairness, it's only 2.5 hours in the version he saw. You know, even the director's is only up to 171 minutes. So, you know, it goes by in a breeze, frankly. All right, skip it.
Balls. Yeah, Midsommar can suck my unwaxed balls. This movie was a disappointing, disaffecting, disingenuous, directionless, diabolical disaster that goes on forever, meanders through its dull and simplistic plot with all the pace and elegance of a fat positivity activist trying to pole vault, and achieves absolutely nothing during its bloated runtime except to act as a commercial for the Swedish tourism industry. Man, this place looks nice to visit. Oh, fuck no. The movie...
Okay. So the guy can deliver. He's charismatic, but dull and simplistic plot. Are we? Is that fair? Is it fair to say it's a simplistic plot?
Dull, no. Simplistic. It's a very simple plot, but they brought in the symbolism. They brought some depth to the characters, but the way they went about the rituals is well plotted. I won't say that that's simple. Plot doesn't mean it's stupid.
No, lots of plots are reducible. Murgoot, have you got 12 hours to see this thing? These little short dudes have got this bad jewelry, and it's got a, you know, they gotta like chuck that in a big hot thing, yeah, and then come back. It's a simplistic plot, you know.
Yeah, the walking tour.
So yeah, I wouldn't say simplistic. Like, simplistic is if there's just like nothing going on. It's not a hugely complex labyrinthine plot. It's not Primer, but simplistic. No, disingenuous. Yeah.
No.
All right.
It kicks off in dramatic fashion by introducing us to our main character, Danny. She's an annoying, emotionally needy college student that her boyfriend Christian's planning to break up with, but then her annoying, emotionally needy sister kills her parents and commits suicide, so I guess he's stuck with her now. Flash forward...
Is that fair?
He's a bit harsh there.
It's a little harsh. Like, you know... Do we not like complex characters? Do we not? Are we not doing that? Are we not asking for more complex, layered characters? I don't know.
Well, she was very whiny in the beginning, and then her family is killed off, and she's less whiny and more mopey, and it's perfectly understandable, and she is trying to live life.
I found, yeah, I mean, you spend a lot of time focused on their dynamics, and like it's a very modern problem. Like I really empathize with them in like how unclear they are. She desperately needs him, but she doesn't want to drive him away, and she knows she's driving him away, and that makes her more anxious. And then he doesn't want to be with her, but he feels a sense of obligation, and he's just not certain, like, will he regret it, etc. Like, complexity. I thought we liked complexity.
Yeah,
also, by the why we're seeing it in the background here, just nice artwork. You see the yellow and the blue. Love it. I love it.
Well, the other picture in her living room is of the girl with the bear, which is another piece of foreshadowing.
Oh, this. I mean, I don't know about you, Murgoot. I've got a bit of a weakness for foreshadowing. I like it. Wins me over very easily.
Yeah. No, she evolves out of the whiny, annoying part, and she does try and grow up and grow. And it's one of his points that, yeah, I could see it at first, but not after the death and watching her try and grow up.
Indeed.
6 months and Danny's still sad and needy. Oh, get over it already. Anyway, Christian's planning to go on vacation to Sweden with his buddies. There's Josh, a geeky anthropology student, Pelle, a laid-back Swedish guy whose family they're planning to visit, and Mark, who is just kind of a prick. Anyway, Christian's going with them to get a much-needed break from Danny's constant misery, but she totally doesn't take the hint and ends up going along with them. You know when you've got an awesome...
Not at all what happens. Not at all what happens. Christian wants to please multiple people. He wants to please Danny. He wants to please his friends. Later, he'll basically go along with terrible stuff to please the cult because Christian doesn't have a strong center and will just try and make people happy and go along with it. He is not good at expressing his own needs, which is why he ends up in a very cowardly way, kind of playing off people's, like playing a little he said, she said, and hoping he can sort of weasel out of it and that Danny will not go with it. Dirty misrepresentation. Sorry, I have strong feelings about it.
Night planned with your mates, and one of them half-heartedly invites his vegan, teetotal, left-wing activist girlfriend along, assuming she won't accept, but then she totally does, and you just know you can kiss goodbye to any prospect of fun.
He's funny.
Yeah, well, it's basically that. So they're going with Pelle to visit his family in the backwoods of Sweden, where they're getting ready to celebrate the festival of Midsommar, and they hook up with a British couple that are also there to watch the ceremony. Everything seems perfect when they arrive. The people are friendly and welcoming.
No, it doesn't seem perfect when they arrive. Didn't we not just cover that Danny has a panic attack on the plane, that they go through a disorientating journey where the camera flips upside down?
And then when they first get there, we want to settle in, and I've got to wander off, and she wanders into the woods and has a mini breakdown.
Yeah, they kind of they're taking hallucinogenics early on, which should clue you in that you're seeing weird stuff, but also that they're really keen to drug them up pretty quickly. This is a bit dodgy, and then Danny has the weird vision straight away. There's jokes in there, but there's also some grimness. So, and within seconds, they're seeing disturbing imagery, the bear in a cage. They see kids playing a game called Skin the Fool. Things aren't immediately good straight away. Things are quite sinister very early on, just because someone isn't playing a spooky violin tune over it to creep you out. I don't think he was paying attention, Murgoot.
No, it's almost creepier with the almost cheerful music.
Totally.
It's after some of my previous life experiences, I would have been running to the hills. Wouldn't have given up my car to stay there. I would have bugged out quick.
Get the old bug out bag on the go.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
The farm looks like it came straight out of a postcard, and there's a chilled out vibe to the whole thing. Then some old people throw themselves off a cliff, and one of them gets his fucking face smashed in with a warhammer. Now this is probably the...
Okay, was that a warhammer?
No, it was a Matic.
Yeah.
Used to split wood.
I knew that was a total nitpick, but I just had to ask, and I just thought, Murgoot's going to know that. I'm very impressed. That is not a warhammer. Sorry. Needless nitpick, but funny.
A cliff, and one of them gets his fucking face smashed in with a warhammer. Now this is probably the point at which normal people would realise that all is not well with this place, and it would be a good idea to gather up your gear, make some polite excuses, and leave. But
Murgoot, what do Connie and Simon do?
They try and leave, they're separated, and they disappear off the face of the earth until the very end.
Ah, interesting. In fact, Danny wants to leave too, but she's sort of talked down, isn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
He's talked down and then brought into the community slowly but surely.
And the two anthropologists are going at it from a detached anthropological lens, which is why they don't run.
They don't run, and Josh's curiosity gets the best of him and breaks a taboo and pays a heavy price for it.
Yeah. So the normal people don't do... The normal people do that. The rest of the people have very good reasons to stay, except for Mark. But Mark, as we have acknowledged, is a prick.
Yeah.
We'll pull
to on the sacred tree, and then the fool gets skinned, and Josh is the one who has to witness it before he gets hit on the back of the head with a shovel.
Funny you mentioned that, actually. But we'll get to that later in this review.
But this is a fucking dumb horror movie, so naturally they decide to stay and watch the rest of the festival.
They don't decide to stay. Two of them leg it immediately. The rest are convinced and have good reason.
Except for the British couple who demand to leave and then mysteriously disappear. What
So
could have
why
happened
did you
to
say
them,
that?
I wonder. Then a local girl takes a liking to Christian and makes him a pie made out of her own pubes and a drink made from...
Don't knock it till you've tried it. Ah. There's no escape, is there? There's no escape.
Oh my god, I think I'm gonna puke. Then Mark pisses on a sacred tree that makes the locals angry, and then he mysteriously disappears too. And still nobody seems to think this is odd. You know how all those...
They do think this is odd. They very much think it's odd, and they quiz the elders the first time, and then the second time, when Josh and Mark have gone missing, the elders come up to them in advance to basically do a bit of ground laying and saying, look, we think your guys legged it with our holy book. And so they're on the actual defensive. It's like the elders have actually set up a bit of a ruse here to throw people off early whilst giving them motivations for not being there. Admittedly, this does not hold up as well for Mark, but it does for Josh.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, they don't act like it's normal. They go out in advance to set a narrative to basically counter the very natural questions that come up.
Yeah. Be right back.
Yeah, no worries. I will keep going.
Those old school slasher movies intentionally made their characters dumb and unlikable so you wouldn't feel bad when they got killed. But then it became a total cliche and people generally stopped doing it because it was obvious audience manipulation. Well, could someone please tell that to Ari Aster? He needs to hear it. Anyway, Christian tells Josh that he's decided to write his college thesis on this place, and that makes Josh angry because he's already doing the same thing. As if it matters. You're studying anthropology, guys. You'll be lucky to get a job in Burger King when this is all over. But then Josh asks one question too many, and he gets murdered by a retard wearing Mark's face.
No, he doesn't. He does not get killed by Rudy. He is killed by Ulf. Rudy is not capable of that. Minor point, but it's showing that Drinker did not pay attention at all to who did the killing. Does it have a big impact? Not really. It's kind of similar to me getting the age of the defendant wrong in my 12 Angry Men video. But nevertheless, when you've had big mischaracterizations, a little mischaracterization, it doesn't help, does it? It adds to a picture of not paying attention.
No, whatever. So the stage is now set for our final epic finale. Killjoy Danny takes some weird drink and goes on a magic acid trip while she dances around the maypole, while Christian gets drugged and coerced into having sex with Pubic Pie Girl. Then Danny wins her maypole competition and walks in on Christian having sex, and she screams like she just saw him getting murdered or something. Then
Why did she scream? Because she's gone out of her way into a really awful place that has got increasingly weird and terrifying, trying to hold things together with Christian. He's like the guy who is supporting her through this horrible trauma of her family being wiped out. And then Christian has betrayed her too. Like he was the guy she was dependent on, and now he's gone. Yeah. She is distraught. She is absolutely distraught. It's bad enough. And then Christine's gone. So, yeah, she has good reason to be distraught. What is the complaint here? Totally unfair. We just got through Murgoot, Drinker complaining that Danny cries when Christian is seen to be cheating on her.
Yeah. And it's a clash of cultures where they're supposed to be together and he's getting dragged into the communal sex cult.
Well, also, but the big thing is just like, as well as the weirdness, is just that she depended on him, and she was worried he was leaving her. Now she's seen he is. It's like one final straw in an or already sort of traumatic thing. She's gone to Sweden for him. It's a big thing. Unfair point. Anyway.
Then she turns into a flower pot, and the village elders explain that a sacrifice is needed to bring their midsummer festival to an end. Danny can choose to sacrifice Christian or one of the villagers, and they have a long, loving look at each other. And of course, she realizes he was coerced into cheating on her under the influence, and he totally wasn't responsible for his own actions, and he's generally a decent man, and so she forgives him. No, I'm just kidding. Christian has to pay for what he didn't do, so they put him inside a bear. Wait, what the fuck? And then they dump him in a not wicker man, and he burns to death in horrifying agony. And Danny smiles because she's empowered or liberated now or something. And
there is a lot to unpack there, isn't there? Does Danny kill Christian because of feminism, Murgoot? Was it the feminisms?
No, it was betrayal.
Oh. So like, she was relying on him for like a sense of community, and then she actually found like she had much deeper empathy and a greater life in the family of the whole. Her family has been wiped out, and multiple people have given her a sense of belonging that she wasn't getting anywhere else. You can call that creepy. You can totally say it's a creepy cult thing. I'm not going to argue that hard with you on that, but she's getting family from the Harga, and she's getting betrayal and indifference from Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why she does it. And it is not the feminism. It wasn't sort of Anita Sarkeesian whispering in her ear, As for the bear suit, I mean, you sort of know my take on that, Murgoot. But Drinker gets it and then plays it off as a joke when it's like, it's kind of there's a deep level and there's a light level. And the light level is literally, this is a folk horror movie, and they absolutely knew they would be compared to The Wicker Man.
Mm-hmm.
So they threw in, where's my lad? They threw in Christian burning to death in the bear whilst looking like Chris Pratt. More like Crispy Pratt, am I right? Heyo. He's getting roasted in that just as a quick joke, like, we are not the Wicker Man. We are not the Wicker Man at all.
Okay. Adam
But-
loves horror for $1.99.
Ooh.
I can't read that.
You can read that.
Mountain Pubes Code Red is my.
Do you remember the
favorite
old?
Mountain Dew? Livewire is better.
That is making me think of the. What was it? 4chan got to win the name a Mountain Dew thing. Was it Gushin Granny?
No, it was the. Trying to remember what it was. It was something like Hitler Loves You or something like that.
Oh, I think it might have been. Oh, I shouldn't say that on stream, should I? A certain Austrian painter did absolutely nothing wrong. So
Yeah.
how could you, Mountain Dew? How could you? Thank you, Adam. Thank you. Don't clip that. Right. So, I mean, just while we're on this, because the drinkers made it like, I don't know why they did that. It's just stupid. You actually talked earlier on, and I'm sorry, we're really rolling back here, but you talked about some artwork in Danny's room that might explain why there's a bear.
The little girl handing the flower to a bear. Yeah. And that's basically what she does.
Yeah. It's a Swedish fairy tale. She becomes the princess or the queen. She faces off against the bear and sort of takes the command. Like we can go deeper. Like you can, if you listen to Novum's video, he will go deep into the actual fairy tale. But the basic thing is a sort of square off against the bear and the princess coming out ahead. Imagery sewn in from the start. It is not lol so random. Critical Drinker.
And that's it. That's the fucking nonsensical, insane plot of Midsommar as best.
It's not nonsensical. There is very good reason for what's happening. The cult have a reason to bring people in. It's for genetic diversity, so their cult stays healthy. And all the people going have a good reason to go there.
As I can describe it. You know, movies like this are why I drink. It's quite simply a disaster.
No, that's because you're Scottish. Nice try. You don't need... It's cool, man. It's cool. We're fine. You don't need to blame it.
On every level. It has absolutely nothing valuable to say about anything. It's...
Absolutely nothing valuable to say about anything.
It's the state of traditional cultures versus modernism. Let's see, getting past family tragedy and finding family, however perverse it is.
Susceptibility to cults. Threat of nationalism, if you believe in that, you know.
Yeah.
Danger of being seduced by extremism. Yeah.
Yep.
Utilitarianism ethics versus individualist ethics. The Horgar is very sort of utilitarian communal, and everyone else is coming from a very individualistic place. So that's just a couple of things that you might say it has something to say about.
Character is simply a disaster on every level. It has absolutely nothing valuable to say about anything. Its characters are the usual vacuous shells that you feel absolutely nothing for.
I think we've probably dealt with that. They have quite a lot going on. Some we get to see more than others, but let's junk that.
And its plot features absolutely no show.
Oh, sorry, Maggie, go on.
About the only unsympathetic one out of the whole bunch. You don't really get to know much about Connie and Simon, but the only really insufferable one is Mark.
Yeah. And in fairness, we all know Mark.
Yeah. Too many of them to count.
Shocking surprises or smart revelations. And unlike most horror movies that are smart enough to keep moving along at a decent pace and wrap themselves up before you start to question how dumb they are, Midsommar feels like watching a fucking iceberg drift on the North Atlantic current. It's long.
Might that be a fair criticism, Murgoot? I mean...
Yeah, it was a bit long. I had to watch it at increased speed to get through it, but it was a bit too much talk, but after reviewing a couple scenes, a lot of the talk was necessary, but it was a plot at points.
Absolutely fair to say it is taking a very gentle pace. Part of which might be to sort of deliberately make things seem less threatening by going through things slowly, and indulging in the weirdness. I'll give him that. It's a long film, and if people don't want to watch a close to 3-hour movie, absolutely fine. That's a fair point by him. It's a long movie, but if you're enjoying it, it's fantastic. I mean, you could say, Barry Lyndon is epic. So long, but if you're enjoying it, it goes by. So
It's dull, and most of all, it's horribly pretentious. We're subjected.
I will give him pretentious, but it's big budget European art house film, so of course it's going to be pretentious.
I feel like he's complained that it's simplistic and basic, and then he's also said it's trying to be too complex. I mean, it's
yeah.
What the big ideas? It's got. Yeah, I don't know. Is it stupid and has nothing to say, or is it pretentious and trying to shove in big ideas? It seems like a contradiction there.
To endless scenes of people sitting down to dinner, chanting in a language we don't understand, and
why do they chant in a language we don't understand? Is that random? Is subtitling just too hard? Or is it part of a very conscious move to alienate you and leave you confused like the characters, whilst also providing quite delicious material if people want to do the work and get translations?
Yeah.
I personally prefer it untranslated, to be honest. I like trying to guess what they're saying, and I think we are meant to not understand it.
Well, the subtitles helped with some of the subtle jokes.
Oh, did you see the Swedish translated?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I've never had it translated.
Yeah, I noticed that the closed captioning was working, so I turned it on.
Ooh. Scandalabra. I've never tried to watch it like that. I'd say it's always been a total mystery for me, but I'm tempted next time. On the director's cut, I might.
About 2/3 of the Swedish is translated. Some of it.
Okay.
Some of it is old Swedish, and it's not translated. And they state it that you wouldn't understand it. It's not. When he asked to read the book, you wouldn't understand it. It's not the same language,
Yeah.
So
very important scene when he says that. Right, Mr. Drinker, over to you.
Doing rituals that are never explained or put into any kind of context.
Gosh darn it, we can't get it 2 seconds. Murgoot, the rituals are totally random with no context whatsoever.
The maypole, the dance, those are pretty standard Northern European things. The writing in runes and the ritual oracle, that's pretty much Scandinavian myth.
And they even explain it. The Atastupa, we get intense, lots of dialogue explaining what it is and why.
Yeah, and then the blood eagle sacrifice, only the blood eagle was supposedly only used for traders, not people who came in and accidentally trampled taboos. It was reserved for traders.
Yeah, when Danny goes through, I don't. You are told why they. Well, look, you can. We could pick any ritual. Let's do Christian and Maya. You know, why is he drugged up? Well, they told him they don't want him resisting, so they drug him up. Why are all the women in there naked? Because, as we've seen, they really share in communal emotion because it grounds you in the community. That's why they're all there. And also, presumably, they can keep an eye on Maya. You know, why is she on a bed of flowers? Where is she? Where's Maya? I've got her here. There she is. Oh, no, I can't find her.
Yeah.
Here we go. Why is she on a bed of flowers? Because it's all about fertility and flowering, okay? She's Bixmindig. She's ready. Chat, don't press wood. You don't know. In your legal jurisdiction, you might have a problem, okay? Like this is it, and you're told that they bring outsiders in to provide genetic divergence and to prevent everything being too incestuous. You're given all the information you need. I've just picked a random example. We could do this for we could do this for basically every ritual if we wanted to.
No.
Character motivations are non-existent.
Do we even
Josh
need to do
wanting
this
to
one?
do his thesis on Midsommar rituals of Northern Europeans. Christian waffling between wanting to break up and wanting to stay safe, keep Danny safe and secure. Danny trying to get over her parents.
And keep
about the only
Christian,
one
you know?
who's unmotivated by anything but having fun is Mark.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's his motivation. He's a horny dude, and he wants to impregnate the Swedish milkmaids.
Simon and Connie, you really don't find out, but they're tertiary characters, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Murgoot. Yeah, that's taking care of that.
Nobody's really trying to achieve anything in this.
Fuck.
Ditto.
Yeah, all right. We've done that. We've done that already. Yes, they are trying to achieve things. They're trying to get their anthropological study, or have fun, or keep their boyfriend.
Film. Most horror movies at least give their characters a goal of some kind, like
No.
staying alive until they're rescued, or finding a way to defeat the entity that's killing them. And how they choose to approach that goal gives us an insight into their varying personalities. Like,
I think we may have had some insight into how they try and reach that goal.
Yeah.
the selfish guy who sells out his friends to save his own ass, or the timid coward who rises to the occasion and redeems himself, or the wannabe badass who finally meets his match. Giving your characters something to do, or an enemy to grapple with, allows you to expose who they really are beneath the facade. But Midsommar's characters have absolutely nothing. They walk around.
I'll let him finish his terrible point.
They look at stuff, they talk to people, and then they die. And that's it. An interest.
They are there.
He got bored with it and wasn't paying attention.
He was not paying attention. I mean, I think we could go through this, but we've talked about the horror stuff and the character motivation. We know what they're trying to do and why. They are there largely to observe or to try and stay with the observers. And they're guided through things because they are more passive for most of the movie, as they would be because they're there to observe the whole festival.
Main character who goes on a powerful journey could perhaps have redeemed this film, but Danny is a complete wet rag.
Danny should have got out a shotgun and started blasting the Horga.
Danny's road was originally trying to keep her sanity and keep her relationship intact, and she ended up making new relationships, however horrifying they were. It's
that's exactly it. She has trauma and she tries desperately to rebuild herself one way, and it doesn't work. In weird horrific situation, she finds resolution that she needed in a way that is kind of novel and horrifying to us as viewers. That's challenging. Your boy seems to genuinely be asking for her to be a girl boss. Like, I'm sorry she didn't go and do a girl boss thing, but she has had a complex journey to get what she wants, and she gets it in an interesting, horrific way.
She is not Sarah Connor. She is, to a point, she's more realistic because she isn't a girl boss, and she's a broken woman who ends finding solace in a community, even though it's not one that anybody in their right mind would choose. She's fallen into the cult, and that's part of the horror of it.
Absolutely. It's an unusual story, you know. What can I say?
Sad and distant and kind of unstable, and that's pretty much how she stays throughout the film. There's
her sister 360 no-scoped herself and her parents, and then her boyfriend cheated on her, and she saw people's heads caved in. It's a bit of a downer.
There's no redemption, no growth, no revelations. Remember,
well, on
do we need to
my previous point, falling into the cult, it's and also to the point of the Wicker Man, it's a reversal of that, where instead of becoming the sacrifice herself, she becomes part of the cult. Unlike Edward Woodward, she's not killed. She's the one who survives and completes the ritual. Precisely.
There is a culmination here, and it's an interesting novel one. Although, as with the Wicker Man, it is once again a Christian being sacrificed, etc. I'd say that's deliberate. It's obviously deliberate. Anyway.
Yeah.
Remember how her sister killed herself at the start? Well, wouldn't it be interesting if that actually tied into the events of the story? Like her sister was connected to the cult in some way, or they murdered her to precipitate Danny's ultimate involvement in all this. Wouldn't it be good if that subplot actually had some...
No, that would be retarded. And formulaic.
But my original thought when I saw the beginning of it is, okay, I know they're going to be visiting a cult. Were her parents part of it? And then, no, they weren't. And it was somewhat disappointing. And then the movie resolved itself and realized that, no, they're just the focal point of Danny's trauma, which works out. He did have a valid point. That was one track they could have gone down, but that was inverted.
Yeah,
that would have been a usual twist, and they didn't go with that.
Yeah, totally. They didn't want to actually, the academic book I've got here brings up Rosemary's Baby in like deliberate contrast to this, where, you know, there is the cult involvement in everything. But in this, like, the cult, as we know, are out looking for people. They go to areas where there are lots of young people who might be what they need. That's how they encounter lots of folk, and they can find the right ones. They easily find Danny. And Danny, the whole point of the tragedy is it is connected to her journey, because the tragedy gives her the mental space and motivation that lets her become the May Queen. If she was psychologically healthy and didn't have that trauma, she would not be vulnerable to it. It's asking for some kind of ridiculous, mwahaha, it was me all along.
Yeah.
No. I mean, there are fan theories about this, but they are generally terrible. No. There's lots of stuff in the early, from the artwork onwards. There's lots of foreshadowing that Danny is the kind of person who could be drawn in. But you do not need the lazy plot. Gosh, I sure hope this guy doesn't ever make a movie or anything. I don't think it would turn out very well with this kind of analysis, I've got to say.
some kind of resolution? Ah, fuck it. And why does this movie act as if, wouldn't it be to the cult in some way? Or they murdered her to precipitate Danny's ultimate involvement in all this? Wouldn't it be good if that subplot actually had some kind of resolution? Ah, fuck it. And why does...
It did have resolution in her character choices, which were to find a new family in an unconventional and slightly horrific place. Did you watch the movie?
this movie act as if Christian somehow deserves what happened to him? Like his...
No, it doesn't.
death is justified retribution for what he did. Because I'm pretty sure if you reversed the genders here and showed a previously faithful, patient, and supportive woman being drugged and coerced into having sex that she didn't particularly want, then being condemned to burn to death by her jealous boyfriend, people would not be singing the praises of this movie in quite the same way. But oh well, I guess this is...
Dude has... I mean, look, this is 5 years ago, but this movie was not about feminism at all. This is what's the phrase? If you've only got a hammer, everything looks like a nail. You just because the movie is not obvious as apologies, Dario Argento movie. Christian's death is horrific. You are meant to feel for him. They don't spell it out for you in a traditional horror movie, but you are meant to be able to look past the presentation. A big thing in this is, because this is largely warning against nationalism, this is Ari Aster's bugbear. He does not want homogenous European far-right movements to gain any ground. He's talking about something that looks superficially very appealing, but is in fact dangerous and horrific if you look beneath the surface. That's his warning. And that's how this works in the film. It should be pretty obvious that someone getting blood-eagled is no bueno, right? Christine's fate is awful, and you're given shots inside the sacrificial building, which will confirm it for you, but I don't know who would say Christine is presented as deserving it.
No, he's as much a victim as everybody else.
Totally. I mean, he was R-worded, basically. Like you're not meant to be able to get a sort of a 3-minute fancy off that scene. You're not meant to be reaching for the Kleenex after Christian's scene with Maya. It is meant to be off-putting, weird, and horrific. And he runs away terrified from it.
This is what empowered female characters look like now. Now, unlike this turd of a movie...
Get that guy the Media Literacy Award. Get him 10.
I'm going to keep this review short and to the point, because I honestly don't want to waste any more of my time talking about it than I absolutely have to. Midsommar is a boring, tedious, dumb, and pretentious piece...
Boring and tedious are tautologies.
Of cinematic excrement. Save yourself 2.5 hours and do something more productive with your time, like watching Swedish porn.
Weak. No, disavow. No gooning. Anyway, I will move us off that. Let's go back to the Gigachad. Oh no, there it is. There is the first word. I knew it. Anyone else from Maya? Anyone else?
No.
I'm going to have to duck out for a minute, Murgoot. Are you okay to hold the thought and see how chat is doing on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you kindly.
Yeah. Let's see. The gun, critical drinker wanting a Sarah Connor figure. Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. This wasn't that kind of movie. Let's see. Yes, Revenge, Tricky Menthol. Revenge is a very good movie. Another feminist cult classic would be I Spit on Your Grave. Not the remake, though. They butchered that. The original 1970s era is much better. Let's see. Modding for Eva. Yeah. I've read some of the commentary politically, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, whatever. The director had his message, and some of it's faithful, some of it's ironic, but however you look at it, to me, it stands on its own. Let's see. I didn't like Dr. Prepper. I didn't like Christian throughout most of the movie. But I won't say that, as you put it, he didn't deserve it. No, he didn't. Christian was complex enough, but watching somebody waffle that much was not agreeable to me. And the way he decided that he was going to horn in on Josh's thesis just pissed me off. I've seen that happen in academia, and it's rather insulting. Let's see. Adam loves horror. If there was a gun in the movie, pew pew. Let's see. John Goris, I don't know if someone's pretentious so long as it's honest and they're communicating well. I think they did a pretty good job with it. Some of it is easily seen from the other side, but the intention was there and it was well developed.
Hello, folks. How was that? Was chat being nice? Was chat playing well?
Yeah.
Excellent.
They all had interesting things to say, and I gave my opinions, so we're good to go.
Oh, lovely. They all do. They all do. We're very genuinely lucky to have a smart chat that also has a filthy, filthy mind. Did you talk about Modding Forever's comment?
Yes, I did. And
Okay.
basically I've read commentary from both sides, and I'm like, no, it was evident what was proposed. The irony of saying one thing and making it look like another. What they did was, it stands, as I said, as I told them, it stands on its own. And yes, I can look at it and go, did you really mean to say this? But it was, yeah, they were trying to be honest, and they made a couple missteps in the way they said it.
Yeah, it's fair enough. I mean, I hope I'm not repeating anything you said, but forgive me. It's an important question. I think from my research, this film does have, what we might call a deliberate left-wing angle, but I think it's intelligent enough and balanced enough to make it an actual interesting debate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think personally, in showing things that make a more communal, homogenous, back to nature, Uncle Ted lifestyle appealing, are genuine appeals. And that's something to contend with. It's just like, yeah, I think trying to say that it's off-putting will probably work for some people, but for me it doesn't. But I'm very much inclined to a far more Luddite life. And, massive kudos to Aster for, I think, very deliberately showing that an intensely involved community is appealing, and that a lot of modern life is isolating. Good on him. That's a brave stand. If you're pointing out the downsides of your own situation, you're making a stronger argument. So yeah. But jumping to sort of just say, we've got to not just say, oh, it's saying this, or it's just for this side. It's like, hopefully a more intelligent film is going to have a bit more of a nuanced discussion. And in fact, there will be I'll set a very, very low request for it because I really want to do it. But I'll be doing a bonus stream for you on a film that was absolutely slated for looking like it was very strong progressive propaganda, and I know why people thought that. But I'll win you round. I'll win you round to it as a reactionary masterpiece. That is Alex Garland's Men. I'll do that on a Saturday when I can schedule that. So there you go. Hopefully I didn't repeat anything that you said there, Murgoot.
You clarified a couple things, but for the most part, you didn't repeat.
Excellent. Yeah, Adam Loves Horror knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Haven't seen it, so looking forward to watching it.
Go for it. It'll be that'll be like a very intense decodey stream. So I'll try that. I'll be doing that solo. Just it's a weird one. If you'd like, I was going to sort of earn this stream the pretentious label, and we've just looked at Critical Drinker in probably the closest this stream will ever come to EFAPing. And I kind of enjoyed it, Murgoot. Thank you. I had fun with that. I had good fun. I thought you guys might like to hear an academic take on Midsommar. So I'm good. Yeah, it's the one I posted to you, Murgoot. So this is from David Church's post-horror art, genre, and cultural elevation. That's David Church's post-horror. It's from 2022, I believe. And the reason it's good is basically it is covering a heck of a lot of films that aren't in any of my other books, because most of my other books start to tail off after about 2013. This is the only one that's got that stuff in it. Now, it's very mainstream academic, and it will come with certain biases that I think you'll pick up on. But I'm going to read you one bit of it. That I'll see how you feel about it. Gosh, I mean, I'd love to read you the whole thing here, but there's just one section. Okay. Moreover, the overwhelming whiteness of the Haruga community, even down to their attire, complicates the threat from ethnic or cultural others often found in torture porn films. Save their ruralness. It's a real article. Sure. Bless you. Save their ruralness, which provides one area of generic overlap between torture porn and folk horror films. Indeed, their ominously cheerful whiteness implicitly hides an underlying commitment to white supremacy, a dynamic that becomes explicit in Get Out. Christine and Danny, for example, are ultimately invited to contribute their genetic material to the community, while the non-white visitors, Josh, Simon, Connie, are all dispatched as mere flesh to be burnt asunder.
They broke taboos.
What's that, Murgoot? They what you mean it wasn't just it wasn't like the Family Guy in car meme that meant Simon and Connie weren't invited? Like,
no, they weren't invited, and they tried to bug out and freaked out.
That's right. They legged it after about one day, didn't they?
Yeah, after seeing the self-sacrifice of the elders. They couldn't handle it, and they tried to leave, and they were brought there as a sacrifice. So,
hang on. What about Josh? They must have been really cruel, like looking at him and saying, "What was it in the script? Tuboku, no boom boom with soul brother." Oh no, that's Full Metal Jacket. Darn it.
Yeah.
Well, I forget what they said to
He
Josh.
violated the taboo of breaking into the Temple of the Oracle and reading the book without permission. Was a no. He knew it was. We're not supposed to be here. Be quiet. and it's
Oh wait, so he did the serious thing that they warned him not to do.
yes.
Oh, well, hang on. What about Mark? I mean, Mark is pasty. Surely he got to absolutely plow those milkmaids.
He pissed on the sacred tree, got berated for it, and then continued fucking up. And excuse my French. So he was skinned alive and had his flesh re-sewn to him.
Oh dear. Well, that looks like it's not a very clever point in this academic essay.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh dear. I mean, let's be realistic here. Like, the reason they're all overwhelmingly white is they're Sweden. There aren't Polish people there. There aren't Irish people there. Like, I know this is kind of sounding like a 2015 Sargon point. Realistically, they probably wouldn't want the intermixing there, you know. But, and I'm not exactly going to say no. You want to be a good evil cult? Get Josh in there. Get him hooking up, you know. But what they're arguing is not supported in the film, you know.
No.
Not supported in the film at all. Right, I will continue. As Adam Scoville notes, films of the post-millennial folk horror revival such as The Witch and Midsommar often reveal and villainize the historical roots of contemporary far-right political attitudes.
Oh,
sure enough, Sophie Lewis observes that en route to the village, Midsommar's characters drive beneath a xenophobic banner that translates as "Stop Mass Immigration to Helsingland," an allusion to the 2010s rise of the
Social Democrats.
Swedish Democrats, Sverigedemokraterna. God, I wish I could speak Swedish. Which began as a fascist and white nationalist party.
And evolved to a nationalist party who they've gotten far from their fascist roots.
Boy, do I have bad news for you about the Democrats. I know this is such a cheap point. I know. Basically, you got a Gigachad up, right? Basically, like the AfD, what they're championing now is like, can we not be the grenade attack capital of Europe?
Yeah.
Can we get the level of grape down a little bit? I'm very in favor of them achieving that.
As I said earlier, watch Angry Foreigner. He makes very good points and explains exactly how they evolved away from their mid-20th century roots and why and how they did it.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to believe them.
No. Adam Loves Horror has said apparently Josh is in the show The Good Place. God, it's something about that I haven't seen it, but if you're interested, there is a really someone did a great essay about that. Oh, and it's absolutely blanking my mind. Was it Last Things? I wish I could remember. It might have been The Distributor. Someone did an amazing essay about The Good Place. Well worth looking at. Thank you for the $2. Very much appreciated. Okay, can you manage another paragraph?
Yeah.
All right. Whereas torture porn films encourage American viewers to sadomasochistically savor the violence done to their closest on-screen counterparts, Danny remains our emotional lodestone here, especially as the other outsiders eventually become sacrificed due to their inability to properly recognize the Haga's true designs. We never lose sight of the gendered epistemic violence in Danny's relationship with Christian.
Oh, God.
Gendered epistemic. I believe Christian is the one who is R-worded. Drugged and R-worded. That would seem to be an inverse of the gendered. We haven't really gone into this, but they do very specifically talk about the hermaphroditic aspect of nature, i.e. lots of men are wearing dresses.
The god of fertility.
Yeah. There's a woman wearing a dress with a huge phallus on it at the end. You can catch that if you want to look for her in the crowd. So it's quite an ungendered thing, I would say. Despite his name, Christian repeatedly and insincerely jumps to a cultural relevant defense of the Haga ceremonies.
Intentional.
Very intentional. Also, isn't that what you're in favor of? Do not mention the niqab to these people. Do not mention kosher slaughter to these people. We could keep going. Whenever Danny expresses her desire to go home, thus giving him a further excuse to neglect her as he conducts his research and foreshadowing his later acceptance of Sim's invitation to mate with Maya.
He was drugged.
He was drugged.
That's not consent. He was drugged.
And he was pretty much guilt tripped into taking her. If we're going it one way, Christian really does get. This won't be surprising for long-time viewers, seeing as we are the stream that argued that Gerald in Gerald's game did absolutely nothing wrong. But Christian gets a really harsh rap. It's not even like Danny is bad. These are two confused people, unsure how to handle things in a difficult time.
Christian's a waffler and Danny is damaged heavily.
Yeah, heavily and understandably. I think the film's pretty compassionate to both of them, and that's what I really like about it. Yeah, trick him out, as you say. He's drugged and raped. Oh dear. I could read you more if you want, but if you're interested, David Church's essay focuses on Midsommar as gaslighting. Basically, how Danny is gaslit by Christian, and then gaslit by the cult into becoming a member and being convinced that she really wants to be there. They note that it's kind of like she's dominated by Christians and then by pagans. General anti-religious point there.
Dominated by Christian? Yeah. Okay. Gaslit by the cult. They gradually accepted in and made part of it. That's part of the horror.
Huh.
She wasn't really gaslit. They were out in the open about everything that they did.
Yeah, very much so. I want to spell out, like, hopefully everyone listening can make sense of this, but I feel like this is a gaslight about a gaslight. This is a film that is showing you a society that, and maybe I'm self-reporting here, this is a society I think is kind of infinitely preferable to living in extremely enriched London. I nearly forgot to do this. People will be writing about how nightmarish the Harga is. The director intended it to be this. The academics certainly thought that Harga was a horrific nightmare. And the danger of it is, like, it's so horrific that it could seduce someone because the Harga society is such a dystopia. But I want to tell you, actually, chat, as an exclusive, I have actually got you a photo of the person who posts that comment. I backtraced it using my superior hacker skills, and I found who posted that. There you go. There you go, chat. I've got him. We got him, boys. I'm so sorry about that. Folks, if you only listen to the podcast, probably best to keep doing that. But what I'm trying to get on it is, you're gaslighting me about the gaslighting because Harga society has got a hell of a lot of positives. And if you are super, super scared about the scary, scary far-right people, it might be best to try and find out how you can get those positives in the regular society.
Yeah.
I'm not being gaslit. It's actually awesome.
Okay. Sorry, I prefer not being in urban culture, and the cult, not so much. I've dealt with them before. No, thank you.
Oh,
You-
Murgoot, you're not bringing nuance to the stream, are you?
Of course I am.
Oh, come on, no, we gotta go red team, blue team, red team, blue
It's
team, red team,
excuse
blue
the
team.
phrase, but my personal experience gives me a little bit of a slanted view on things. I've dealt with both, and no thank you.
Absolutely fine, absolutely fine. But yeah, I couldn't resist the controversial. I knew I wouldn't win you over with that one, Murgoot. Far too grounded. Midsommar reviews and their consequences have been a disaster for this channel's reputation. Well, we've done 2 and a bit hours. I was going to compare. I was going to sort of do a quick rundown through our what do we call it? The folk horror schema. But is there anything you wanted to cover before we do that?
Not really. I mean, I'll give my thoughts on it. It's similar.
Oh, well, is it okay, like, to say that for the closing thoughts and scores?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Sorry, I'm autistic about the order.
No.
This is just quick, just so we can check, but I think we can do it. So, is this actually folk horror? I mean, it's a pretty easy one, isn't it? They're in nature. There's a communal threat. Dark is the norm. Well, by that we mean like you face the savage aspects of nature head on.
This was bright and shiny, which is a direct contrast to dark is the norm.
Oh yeah, I need to maybe reword that then. I meant just like it's the idea that civilization is the exception, and actually the real world is savage, and that's like all around.
Yeah.
Which I think this kind of gets at. Like, there's always violence, there's always sex and violence around.
Untamed sexuality. Well, there is and there isn't, because it's well tamed. They have set rules for it, but it's not the same sexuality that an American or British person would accept.
Yeah, it is very like in your face in a way that I think is hang on, where is it? Like the artwork like this, I mean, I do find it a bit shocking. You know, I'm a bit sort of, oh, that's a bit much. Should I even put that on stream? You know,
yeah,
sort of thing. So I think it does that quite well. But yeah, you're very right. They aren't the kind of people going wantonly out of control the way that we had in Blood on Satan's Claw or The Wicker Man. Accidental taboo breaking, absolutely. Being on the tree.
The sacred and the profane. They talk about the Futhark runes and how they see it as the holiest to the unholiest. And then there's the taboos that are broken by the various people. And the yellow church is off limits to everybody. It's sacred. Nobody goes in but those who belong there. The summoning, that was done in the beginning, where Pele and Ingrid brought the outsiders in.
Yeah, and the ritual itself, very they're not like summoning a demon or anything, but they are sort of marking the passage of time and demanding better crocs. So we got that there. Confrontation with modernity. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Christianity.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Implicitly. Liberalism. Yeah.
It's not so much liberalism as rationalism. Josh and Christian were a bit too rational for them.
What about the I saw the way they decided things in a communal way. Even like the big communal barn is like pretty anti-liberal in the sense of you don't get to be an individual in the Harga.
Yeah.
And confrontation with the repressed. I'm torn on that one. That's a more Freudian aspect.
The confronting was mainly done off screen. It's the taking of Simon and Connie. The one that was done on screen right off the bat was Josh. And you see the after effects of Mark being skinned, and you see the after effects of Simon being given the blood angel treatment. But most of it just flowed along with how the cult worked. I mean, even Christian sacrifice was not so much a confrontation as the end point of Danny's journey.
Yeah. So I'd agree. I don't think there's much of the Freudian thing there. It is, yeah, as you go, we do get this right there, but it's a lot more straightforward than we have in other stuff. But that's okay. I think we've hit a lot of these. I don't have any problem saying this is not only a folk horror. I would say it's almost an exemplary one. Is that too far, Murgoot? I don't know.
No, it's definitely folk horror. It's not English folk horror by any stretch of the means, aside from the British and American influence, but they're ripped out of time and place by the invite, and that's about all it is. The rest of it is old school Norse.
Oh yes, very Norse with very odd touches like this. I swear this has got to be referencing a painting of some kind, but I love it. Yeah, we got a winner here, boys. We got a winner. I mean, this could have easily been a 6-7 hour stream if we went deeply in. Like, there is so much detail in this. We've had to limit ourselves.
Displayed, all the art displayed.
Oh, the artistic references. Why is the building in a triangle? Spoiler, it's a delta. The change. You know, things like that. You know, we have to limit ourselves a bit, but a 2.5 hour stream barely scratching the surface of Midsommar. I've got a feeling we'll return to this, but hopefully made a good dent in it. But with that said, having passed this firmly as a folk horror, let's do our closing thoughts and scores. So, Murgoot, if you'd like to start us off.
The cinematography was beautiful. The soundtrack was excellent. The story, while not complex, had a lot of detail put into it. The symbology, especially the runes, which we didn't really touch on. Everything was fairly well based on actual myths about the Norse and the interpretation of the Futhark runes. The acting was excellent, I thought. It was kind of stilted, but we're talking about a cult, and they were removed from everybody else, so they would be stilted. It added to the eeriness rather than taking away from the movie. Yeah, I'll give it 9 burgers, very little ketchup, lot of pickles. Overall, I like the movie a lot. It's maybe worth a rewatch. But at this point, I'll give it a 9.
I'm chuffed with that. I'm very chuffed with that. You know, I know 2.5 hours to 3 if you go with the directors. This is not an easy one, so I'm really chuffed to get a 9 of this. I'm kind of fine if people say it's just not my thing, it moves too slowly. I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. It's going to be divisive, but I'm so glad that this worked for you and got a 9. I'm chuffed. As for me, on the rewatch, liked it even more. It absolutely flew by. I know there's so much depth in there to explore, and I like the idea that there are just puzzles I haven't unpicked yet in this. I'm still trying to work out the color coding of this. You know, there's and I'm looking forward to researching a lot more to understand it. For a start, you know, finishing Novum's 6-hour epic on this. I've already disagreed with lots of stuff in the first hour, so it's nice that it's not so definitive, that we can still have different takes on it. Anyway, I think it goes. The main thing I'm taking away from is the fact that it was deliberately attempting to be subversive, but a nice bit of nuance takes the pain of that away. You're so right to highlight the great performances, the beautiful look of it. The sound is great, wonderful music. It's got to be it's a strong 10. It's a strong 10, taken away only because of attempts to be subversive. So yeah, and there's like a whole extra burger just for Maya. Oh, the actress was 20. It's fine.
People and redheads.
Well, look, if you've seen what Christina Hendricks does to this channel, you know we.
Yeah, well, hey,
yeah,
I can forgive her for being a redhead.
Yeah. So, 10 burgers, no cheese, a nice sort of maybe a dark blue cheese for the dark humor, and some quite moldy pickles were just there, and they wouldn't go away, and I didn't enjoy them. But it's A24, so I kind of figured it was going to happen. And yet there was something else. Like I think I found a hair in those burgers too. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So strong. It's not an 11, but it is a strong 10, and I'm definitely going to be rewatching this, if only to see what they're actually saying in Swedish. So, and it seems like 2 other reviews came in with 10 as well. If you have not seen it yet, please do watch. I hope we've sold you on it. There is a lot more that we have not covered. So you can really dig into this film. But that is our discussion of Midsommar. Next week, it's going to be a busy panel. 5 of us. I don't think we're going to be that efficient next week. We'll be, as you know, we'll be covering Ben Wheatley's A Field in England. Ben Wheatley's A Field in England. Track that down. I've not seen it. I know very little about it, but I'm excited. That's going to be Simon Roberts joining us, and Harry Robbins from the Lotus Seat is coming in, as well as hopefully both the wonderful regular co-hosts. So there we go. You've had your analysis of Midsommar. You've had your horror homework. And Murgoot, you have my deep gratitude for joining me this evening and bringing great takes to this.
Hey, no problem. This was a lot of fun.
Cheers. I thought you'd absolutely roast me. Like, wow,
No, I
Chloe's
can
seen
see
any
where
good
you're
cult
coming
lately.
from, but my personal experience, yeah, no.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. We know I'm a weirdo. We know my tastes are unusual. Oh dear. All right. Well, thank you again. And chat, thank you. You've been generous tonight. It's all good. It's all good. Next week, I think we'll do the stream goal. So turn up ready for super chats because that will be raising money for the bonus streams. And that is everything. You've had your analysis. You've had your horror homework. And most importantly, I hope that you have a lovely Friday tomorrow and a great weekend after that. Massive thanks, folks. I'll sign off here. Thanks, y'all. Cheers.
Hashtag Chill Gang.